on a sutta whose name I can't even pronounce. So, a short or more popular name for this sutta is the Vyagghapajja Sutta. Digha means long, Janu means knee. Why long knee? I don't know why that man is called long knee, but that's his name. And this word that I can't pronounce is his surname. So this sutta is actually the Vyagghapajja something something sutta. And it's easier to remember Vyagghapajja, long knee. Digha Nikaya, long. So this is considered one of the very important suttas for lay people, because this is one of the teachings of the Buddha to a layman called Vyagghapajja. And in this sutta is recorded much of the Buddha's advice with regards to lay people earning a living and how they can contribute to the sasana. And this sutta deals with wealth. Now, of course, wealth alone does not make a complete man nor a harmonious society. You need more than just money. And possession of wealth, very often because of our greed, it makes us even more greedy. We want even more wealth. And then it becomes an endless pursuit of amassing more wealth, more power. And you see it in, at least in my country's politicians. It's a never-ending circle. Okay. So unrestrained craving, however, is very dangerous because it will leave people dissatisfied. And I will give you a very good example of how a Buddhist would look at it differently. Some time ago, I was chit-chatting with one of the BF members, a well-to-do businessman, and then we were just chit-chatting over lunch. And he told me, oh, Dr. Wong, I've sold X amount of shares. Well, I made good profit out of it. But after I sold the shares actually went up substantially. And people came and say, Ayah, why are you so stupid? You should have kept it longer, then you make more money. But he said, no, I told the person who told me that I sold my shares and I made money. Now the person who bought my shares, if he had sold it, he would have also made money. And I'm very happy for him. I am not angry that, oh, I should have kept my shares and earn more money. He said, I'm very happy that the person who bought my shares now has made more money, which is a very Buddhistic approach. Okay? What we don't want is to be wealthy and behaving like that. The sound is missing, I'm sorry. Let's start again. 买什么了？都买最好吃的，买啥回家？回家都买最好花，都没钱了。买什么买？呀，走！买！这都我提了，买！哎，你去啊！买！ So that's not what we want. We don't want that, okay? That may be perhaps an extreme example, but we do not want that. Now, I call this materialism and spirituality, this sharing. Pure materialism, of course, is a desire for wealth and material possessions with little or no interest in the ethical or spiritual aspects. It's pure greed. You know, those of you who are having white hair will remember a long time ago a movie with regards to Wall Street, and this famous statement whereby this man was asked about greed, and then he replied, what's wrong with greed? Greed is good. Greed is to be worshipped. Greed is the very grease which drives the wheels of commerce. Okay? If you can't remember, it's all right, you're young. Okay. Now, the philosophy of materialism holds that the only thing that can be truly proven to exist or to possess is a material thing that I can hold in front of me or look into my bank account. Nothing else matters. And that is, of course, the extreme end of the spectrum. Nobody denies that money can make you happy. If you do not have enough money to buy you the basic necessities of life, you're going to be very miserable. So there is this fulfillment curve whereby all of us need money to provide for survival. And beyond that, for our little comforts, and beyond that, for our little luxuries. But the reality is that beyond that, you actually do not get much more happier. And this has been shown in many, many countries. Okay, the happiness versus income curve, this is American annual income. They become happier. Then they strike at about 60 to 70K, and you will find that beyond that, they do not get any more happier than before. There seems to be a plateau. So, money indeed helps you become happy because it lifts you out of poverty. It gives you that little luxury to do things that you want to do. But there seems to be a threshold beyond which it doesn't provide more happiness. But it is also a myth that a person cannot be both rich and spiritual. I think that this is very important because people seem to have the false impression that, oh, I'm a Buddhist, that means you become a doormat, everybody step on you. But that's not true. That's not true. So it is, first and foremost, I want to tell you that it is a myth that you cannot be both rich and spiritual. You can be very rich and spiritual. Rich materially or rich in other ways, and yet you can be very spiritual. I'm not talking about being religious. Religious is what you show other people. Spiritual is inside. And you cannot think that money is considered evil and that all the mental blocks that holds a person back from being wealthy is all in one way or other related to money. No, money is just a tool. Money is like your kitchen knife. You can use your kitchen knife to cook very nice food for your family, or you can use your kitchen knife to kill somebody. Money is like that. It's just a tool. Okay? Of course, we have warnings about money. People become toxic with this endless pursuit. And we must never forget that it comes at a price. Don't sacrifice too much of your other components, especially family, especially your morality, okay, your self-dignity. Don't sacrifice this. Today's talk is actually in two parts. This afternoon at 1 o'clock, I'm sharing the second half of this talk. So looking at how many of you stay back, I will know how successful I am. It's very relative. Okay? Singaporeans spend 800,000 buying a condo, 600 square feet, 700 square feet. And they say, oh, it's so big. You don't believe me? Go to Hong Kong, take a look. Oh, that's 5 million in Hong Kong, 400 square feet. Okay? And then they come to Malaysia and they look at a middle cost condo in Malaysia and say, why this one's so big one? Okay? And then we go to Australia for the same cost as a homestead with a few cows at the back. So it's all very relative. And we realize that actually we are very happy where we are, just that when we see something else, we become no longer content. All right? Now, back to the sutta. This sutta is from this man called Long Ni Digajanu. And he's obviously a rich man. And he met the Buddha, and he asked the Buddha, we are lay people enjoying sensuality, living crowded with spouses and children, using kasi fabrics. The best fabrics is supposed to come from kasi. And sandalwood, wearing garlands, scents and creams, handling gold and silver. May the Blessed One teach us the Dhamma for those like us, for our happiness and well-being in this life and in lives to come. This is the basis of this sutta. For every one of you in here, this hall, who is living on a landed property in Singapore or a duplex somewhere in the sky, you are probably like Digajanu, Long Ni. Okay, you probably have more than enough to spare. I don't think you need to worry where your next meal is coming from. So you want to ask from the Buddha, what can I do for the happiness and well-being in this life and for lives to come? See, he's smart. He buys insurance. Not only is he comfortable now, he wants to be sure even my next life I'm going to be equally, if not more, comfortable. And the Buddha answered him, 4 conditions, that's his surname, conduce to a householder's weal and happiness in this very life. Which 4? Very life, now. The word weal, Old English word for sound, healthy, prosperous state of well-being. And the Buddha said the accomplishment of persistent effort, the accomplishment of watchfulness, good friendship, and balanced livelihood. Let's look at them. The first one, the Buddha said, persistent effort. Modern English, you must be hardworking. Nobody owes you a living. I think LKY has been saying that for most of his living life. You Singaporeans must work hard. No welfare state. Nobody owes you a living. And the Buddha said, herein by whatsoever activity a householder earns his living, whether by farming, by trading, by rearing cattle, by archery, by service under a king, by any other kind of craft. Now, the Buddha lived in a very agrarian society 2,600 years ago. That's why these terms are all related to that society. Okay? In modern language, it will be by trading, by shares, by commodities, by rearing cattle will be, I don't know, buying, selling stocks, I suppose, something to that effect. Or civil service, of course, and by any kind of craft. At that, he becomes skillful and not lazy. He is endowed with the power of discernment as to the proper ways and means he is able to carry out and allocate duties. The second, watchfulness or vigilance. Herein whatsoever wealth a householder is in possession or obtained by dint of effort collected by strength of arm, by sweat of brow, justly acquired by right means, such he husbands well by guarding and watching, so that kings would not seize it. That's the old term for taxes. Thieves will not steal it. Fire will not burn it, means buy insurance today. Water would not carry it away, buy flood insurance as well. Nor ill-disposed heirs. Aha, in Singapore at least you can sue the poor fellow. Grandmother suing grandson, from what I read in the newspapers. Okay, so basically, you see, the Buddha 2,600 years ago gave very pragmatic advice. Okay? We can realize that these things can be even put into contemporary terms. Okay? All right? He didn't tell you to do anything illegal. He told you to do things which are all within the means of safeguarding that wealth. And very important, good, noble friendship, or virtuous friendship. Those of you who came earlier, I played the song Kalyana Mitra. Kalyana Mitra means good or noble spiritual friend. And that is extremely important. The Buddha, when asked by Ananda, who said that spiritual friendship is half the spiritual life. And the Buddha corrected Ananda and said, no, Ananda, you are wrong. Good spiritual friendship is your entire spiritual life. We all need each other to support. We all need each other to encourage. Okay? I always tell people at Metta Lodge, I've been sharing in Metta Lodge every week on Thursday since 2004. But because I share that every week on Thursday, there's only 10% of the crowd. Because never mind, next Thursday he's still there. And after that, next Thursday he's still there. Okay? Human beings are like that. But the good thing is, of course, they have actually stayed with me from 2004 to now. Which means I'm a useless teacher. None of them became arahants. So the Buddha said, herein, in whatsoever village or market town a householder dwells, he associates, converses, engages in discussions with householders or householders' sons, whether young or highly cultured, or old and highly cultured. See, he doesn't even discriminate age. Some young people might have got a lot of things to teach. Every time my computer spoils, now that both my children stay far away, I have no idea what to do. In the old days, every time spoil, call my children, something wrong, not moving. So even the young can help us a lot, especially in things like that. Okay? Full of faith, full of virtue, full of charity, full of wisdom. He acts in accordance with the faith of the faithful, with the virtue of the virtuous, the charity of the charitable, and the wisdom of the wise. See how much who we associate with is so important, because these qualities rubs off on us. Okay? You stay next to a rubbish dump, and if you stink, don't complain. Be people whom we associate with, they will have a huge influence with us, on us. That's why in the Mangala Sutta, when the Buddha was asked by the Devas, which is the most important blessing, the Buddha didn't give one, he gave a whole long list. But the very first of that long list of blessing is not to associate with the foolish, but to associate with the wise. Because if you are a teenager, for example, and you associate with the foolish, your entire course of life is going to change. Okay? Even if you are elderly, you associate with the foolish, your entire course of life is also going to change. I have a distant relative in Singapore, retired quite well, quite happy. You know, in Singapore, you retire, you got CPF and all that, so he's quite happy. But he did not associate with the wise. Instead, he associated with people who took this pretty girl, we won't mention from where, okay? And because of that, he was willing to divorce his wife and separate from his family. And then what do you think happened? After he was sucked dry like a ham yu, you know. He was nicely abandoned, and nobody wanted him. He had to go back to his mother, who is very elderly, and literally live with his mother because he has lost everything. So it's not just the extremes of youth, but also the elderly, that we can make poor judgments and do very unwise things. So if you stay with people of faith, like if you come here every Sunday, whatever other days we have activities, you mix with people who are virtuous, charitable, generous, with wisdom, then we tend to also behave that way. So the Buddha said this is one of the important qualities. Because remember, Digha Janu was asking, how do I preserve my wealth in this life and in other lives? So you have to be hardworking, you have to be vigilant, and you have to have good, noble friendship. And the fourth thing the Buddha said is balanced living. Herein, a householder, knowing his income and expenses, leads a balanced life, neither extravagant nor miserly, knowing that thus his income will stand in excess of his expenses, but not his expenses in excess of his income. For those of you, the men here who are married, it's very easy. Just let your wife take care of the accounts. I'm very sure you'll be balanced. Okay? If you are single, then yes, you need to really make sure you balance. But remember, the Buddha didn't ask you to live the life on an ascetic. He asked you to have a balanced life. Which means, yes, eat Italian food like last night, but not the extremely expensive one. Go to the heartland one, okay? And make friends with the owner and give you free cake at the end of the meal some more. All right, he didn't exactly ask you to eat in the hawker center the entire life despite having a lot of money in the bank. No. The Buddha said you must live a balanced life. Neither the extremes of either end of the spectrum. Now, what is righteous wealth? The Buddha gave Vyagghapajja this concept of righteous wealth. Of course, you have righteous wealth means you have got the other way, isn't it? The wealth, not exactly what we say, cannot see like one, not like righteous, cannot see like one. But what is righteous wealth? The Buddha said this is acquired by the householder for his use, for his protection, etc. And it is wealth acquired by energetic striving, his hard work, sweat of his brow, strength of his arm was the word used. Okay? Amassed by the strength of his arms. Remember, this was an agrarian society. Earned by the sweat of his brow. Righteous wealth, righteously gained. The reality is, while money doesn't make us happy by itself, it gives you the freedom to not worry about financial needs. You don't have to worry about where your children's education funds are going to come from, etc., etc. You don't have to worry what's going to happen when you fall sick, etc., etc. Because having that excess income minus that gives you the luxury to be more involved in the community, in Buddhist fellowship, etc. And you have the experience and the time to do the things you want to do. So money buys you stuff, not happiness. And I think this is a very important concept which I must share with you. The Buddha said, in the first noble truth, that we all have, in whatever state we are in, some form of dukkha, which is either translated as stress or dissatisfaction or unhappiness. That is a common denominator. And he gave the second noble truth as the cause of that stress, which is craving. The cause of that unhappiness, which is craving. So now let's say iPhone 10 or X has come out. The older generation, not interested, to be very frank. But the younger generation, wow, iPhone 10 come out already. Must have. Upgrade one port in the computer also, wow, must get that model because got one new port. Okay? What is that? That is a craving. As long as we have that craving, we are not very happy. I mean, let's be frank. Most of us have cars which are roadworthy. They're reasonably comfortable. Yeah, of course, after 6-7 years, the suspension's a bit squeaky. It's not so comfortable, but it's actually still a very good, reliable car. But then we look at our neighbor and we see our neighbor has a much bigger car, Camry or BMW or whatever. And then we have the craving. And we're not very happy with ourselves. Why? Because that craving is not satisfied. So when we actually buy that car or buy that book or buy that whatever new gadget or handphone, we are happy. Why? Not actually because so much that gadget has given us fantastic happiness, but that craving has been disappeared. That craving has now suddenly disappeared. We have fulfilled that need, that craving. And we feel temporarily happy. And the Buddha said, if you can understand that, then you can also understand that happiness comes from a fulfillment of that craving, that mundane temporal happiness. So if you reduce your craving, you'll actually be more happy. And you have zero craving, you'll be deliciously happy. So money buys you stuff, but they are not itself the key to happiness. Give me an example. How many of you have books in your house that you have bought because you say, wow, this book very good, I sure will read it, man. And then we don't read it. I've got at least 50 in my house. Or not even touched yet. But bought because I think this book very good. Right? This is what I mean. After that, we actually don't do anything. Worse if it's a woman. So, money is, of course, a tool which we can use very well. If you use it well, of course, it does a lot of things. And the Buddha even told Vyagghapajja, there are 4 ways in which your wealth will disappear. Because Vyagghapajja, remember, asked how to keep it in this life. Be happy in the next life. Debauchery, drunkenness, gambling, friendship, companionship, intimacy with evildoers. No need to explain. This is common sense. Okay? You know, when you took the 5 precepts just now, 5 precepts, are you aware that out of that 5 precepts, 4 of them deal with the other person? Be very generous people. Out of the 5 precepts you took, 4 deal with I mustn't harm you. Panatipata is not just kill. Panatipata is harming. Anything which harms. Okay, although it's often translated as killing, but it actually means harming. Okay, I don't want to harm you. I don't want to take anything from you which you didn't give to me. I don't want to, 3rd precept, have any inappropriate behavior. I don't want to say things unkind about you. So out of the 5 precepts, 4 deal with the other person to ensure 1, 2, 3, 4 remain happy. I won't do anything to reduce your happiness. There is only 1 precept which deals with yourself, and that's the 5th precept. And what is the whole purpose of the 5th precept? That you maintain mindfulness. All those words that you use, Ura, Mera, Yama, Pama, Datana, do you know that they were long words, but they are all names of alcohol extant during the Buddhist time? If you don't make that contemporary language, we'll have to say whiskey, rum, vodka, ecstasy, pink lady, ice. All these things I will abstain because these things will make my mindfulness go down. Only 1 precept deals with you. The only thing the Buddha wants is be mindful. Because if you have mindfulness, the other first 4 precepts, no issue already. Okay? No issue. The 4 sources for the increase of amass wealth, of course, is the opposite of the 4 which makes you lose your wealth. And this is the financial wisdom of the Buddha. Then the Buddha follows up his advice on this material welfare with 4 other conditions. Because remember, he's teaching Vyagghapajja. He's teaching Vyagghapajja not just to be happy in this life, but the future lives to come. And so he has to teach Vyagghapajja on top of how to protect your material wealth, now how to build up your spiritual welfare. And he said 4 conditions conduce to a householder will and happiness in your future life. Future life not necessarily means I have to die. Future means even next month, next year, next decade, and of course next life. And he said you must have the accomplishment of faith, saddha sampada. But saddha or faith in Buddhism is not blind faith. The Buddha said you must always test it out yourself, see whether it's true, then only you will use it. Then only you will accept it. The accomplishment of virtue, sila, which for lay people, the basis is the 5 precepts. The accomplishment of charity, chagga. Now, charity does not necessarily just mean money. Charity can be in many forms. It can be time, skill, even how well you cook, like the food you're about to eat afterwards, etc. Politeness, etc. Our society nowadays has become not very polite anymore. Okay? Yesterday somebody was picking me up from Hillian, where Brother Chongjin allowed me to stay. So he stopped his car to pick me up, and the guys behind. Well, that's typical, not just Singapore, Malaysia also. All right? People are no longer very polite. Even someone dropping off or getting up, people pom to save that 10 seconds. Okay? So a very simple charity we do is just merely being polite to each other. All right? And what's so difficult about that? The accomplishment of wisdom. So this is bhavana. This is what you want to train your mind to develop. to have the mind of Sada, Sila, Chaga, and Panya. Okay, faith, virtue, charity, and wisdom. Sada, as I repeatedly emphasize, is not blind faith. It is confidence based on knowledge. And what did the Buddha say in this sutta? Herein a householder possessed of faith, he believes in the enlightenment of the Blessed One. And what did this next few lines remind you of? What does it remind you of? What you just chanted. Iti pitso bhagawa. Iti pitso bhagawa arahang. These are the words. Thus indeed is the Blessed One. He is the pure one, fully enlightened, etc., etc. How many of you here know Malay? Hands up. Only the Indonesians? Bijak charana sampano, one of the virtues we use. Right? One of the things you chant, Iti pitso bhagawa arahan sama sambuddho bijak charana sampano. What does the three words there mean? Bijak in Malay is wise. Charana in Malay, cara. Sampano, sempurna. Perfect in wisdom. So please go and learn Malay. Pali will be very easy once you know Malay, because Pali borrowed many words from Pali and Sanskrit. So you just look at even this iti pitso. So many of it are Pali words and Malay words. Of course, they're all Pali words, sorry. So many are Malay words. Dewa, manusa. Right, Joe? Indonesian words as well, of course. Virtue. Herein a householder abstains from killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, lying, and from intoxicants that cause infatuation and heedlessness. What is this? Your 5 precepts. For lay people, this is the foundation of virtue. Charity. Herein a householder dwells at home with heart freed from the stain of avarice, devoted to charity, open-handed, delighting in generosity, attending to the needy, delighting in the distribution of alms. And every good act of yours is charity. A man's good wealth hereafter is the good that he does in this world to his fellow human beings. Wisdom. Herein a householder is wise. He is endowed with wisdom that understands the arising and cessation of the 5 aggregates of existence. He is possessed of noble penetrating insight that leads to the destruction of suffering. What did I share with you just now when I teach you to meditate? You note your arising of thoughts. Note it. Hello, like a bubble, it disappears. You see arising, you see cessation. With conditions, arising will come. You are anatta, non-self. Given the condition, a thought will arise. Okay? I put the smell of asam laksa in front of you as you meditate. I guarantee you immediately you think asam laksa. I put a durian in front of my good friend there when he meditates. He'll probably, no, he won't. He'll love it. So this is what we mean. It's anatta, non-self. Things arise when the conditions are right. Things cease when the conditions are right. Your mind works based on the arising, cessation, endlessly causes condition effect. So when you have meditation, you're looking at this actually arising and falling in your mind. And you develop the insight into impermanence, dissatisfactoriness, and non-self. So without wisdom, you might be very poor and unhappy, then suddenly strike lottery, and you can still be very unhappy. You need the wisdom. So I hope this very touching video has helped us realize something. I should be a very, very sad person. I spend so much money educating my 2 children. One is in Bangkok, and one is going to Australia. And me and my wife look at each other every day, and our main topic of conversation is, are you cooking tonight or are we going out for dinner? So I always ask her, why do we work so hard to put ourselves in a miserable position? And we say, no, we are happy because they are happy. Okay? And that's why now most weekends I travel around Singapore, Malaysia, everywhere, sharing the Dhamma, because in all reality, we're actually quite free. Of course, joking, okay? My wife was scolding me, such things cannot joke, one. Now, you can make people very happy, contribute in many ways, not just necessarily because you are wealthy, but because you can make other people wealthy. This was yesterday. Just yesterday. Po Ming Si. My last talk here, or maybe talk before last, a couple came and sat somewhere there. They waited for my talk to be over, and then they stayed back. As usual, I was chit-chatting, and they actually, poor thing, waited a long time. And then they had to Jerry, brother Jerry, where's Jerry? And Jerry got to intervene and push everybody and say, this couple needs to see you. And the point was that they wanted to get married. 2 Buddhists, one Buddhist boy, one Buddhist girl, they wanted to get married. Somehow, I don't know from where they knew about me. And so they said, can you come and solemnize our marriage? So I said, sure, when is it? If I'm available, of course, yes lah. If I'm not around, then of course nothing I can do. So it was on the appropriate time and I was available. And time passed so fast. And yesterday was their wedding. So it was well planned by Sister Masiali and Ratna in Po Ming Si. And they arranged for Brother Wilson and I to help with the marriage ceremony. Okay? And so this is a couple coming in. Very, very happy, of course. But we want to make them even more happy because we want to introduce, at least to them, the Buddhist principles in this marriage. And that's me in front of a beautiful Buddha image. They made offerings. They took refuge. And they made the same offerings that you all made just now, with explanations in 2 languages because their parents are Chinese educated, so you can see candlelight offering, etc., etc. Okay? Offering of flowers, etc. And then, of course, the legal aspects, Brother Wilson had to take care of it. The beautiful altar. And we have Buddhist hymns, bilingual, English, Chinese. Oh, I mean, not immediately translate, but some English songs, some Chinese songs. And by the way, the entire ceremony was also translated into Chinese by a very capable brother called Brother Wilson at Po Ming Si. Okay? And the words of the song are projected at the back to make sure everybody understands these words. We're very, very happy after we 2 did our duty. We have married them, you know. And then we even shared merits. This is the sharing of merits right at the very end. Okay. And then, of course, Sister Ratna was the MC. And these are the key people who helped to plan. That's Brother Wilson, the translator. Okay. Masiali and Ratna, the 2 organizers who helped them plan the entire wedding, including the 2 girls carrying all the chairs up. There are no chairs in that hall, so they could carry all the chairs up. I think their muscles must be very sore today. Of course, Brother Jerry came, and his lovely wife, Linda. And there's a couple saying goodbye to them. I told the girl, I am the one who made you do all the promises. If in case the boy does not treat you well in the future, come tell me and I'll go scold him. Okay, that's with Ratna. And these are the muscles that helped us. Okay? Physical muscles. Okay, that's not the Jia Po, this is the just a group of us. Look at all those chairs. The girls have to carry all those chairs themselves. Okay. And of course, after that, they took me for dinner. So you can contribute one, as I said, your time. Just time. Brother Jerry was telling them, next time you do it, get all the PROs or BF to help you carry the chairs. How can two girls carry the chairs? He said, not fair. Okay? You can contribute your skill. Do you notice all those flowers just now? Beautiful flowers. The same person who did this did all those flowers. Okay? So there's so many ways. You don't have to be a multi-billionaire to contribute. There are so many ways we can contribute. Okay? Just translation. That itself was something important. And just to give you a very quick idea of the words that needed to be translated. Just a quick idea, okay, just look through very quickly. Okay, then we made him swear to this. Then we made her swear to this. Okay. Then we make them vow that they will take the Noble Eightfold Path. And we've got at least 60, 70 witnesses in the hall. Okay? So this is what we mean. A contribution, not financially, but of something that can help a young couple begin their life on a good footing. Okay? So there's even been a suggestion that since many of you here got married without going through all that, we should repeat the whole process. Can be arranged, can be arranged. So in the Dhammapada, the Buddha said this: those who in youth have not led the holy life or have failed to acquire wealth languish like old cranes in a pond without fish. Those in youth who have not led the holy life or have failed to acquire wealth lie sighing over the past like worn-out arrows shot from a bow. So there is nothing wrong with acquiring wealth as long as you acquire that wealth without breaking the 5 precepts. As long as it is righteous wealth, there's nothing wrong with acquiring it. In the Mangala Sutta, I've already mentioned one, but there is other parts. Remember I told you there are many blessings. To have much learning, to be skillful in handicraft, well trained in discipline, to be of good speech. This is the greatest blessing. To support mother and father, to cherish wife and children, to be engaged in peaceful occupation. This is the greatest blessing. To be generous in giving, to be righteous in conduct, to help one's relatives, to be blameless in action. This is the greatest blessing. Now, are you aware that among the many religions, the Buddha Dharma is about the only one that has within its core discipline, which is the Eightfold Path. One of the factors of Eightfold Path is right livelihood. The Buddha has placed right livelihood or livelihood right in the midst of spiritual practice. All of us, other than the retired people in this room, spend more time at work. We spend more time with our bosses, our employees, our co-workers, our customers, than with our family or our friends. The quantity of time that you actually spend with your family is small compared to that which you spend at work. And the Buddha realized that. And that's why he put livelihood right into spiritual practice. In the Eightfold Path, remember, right livelihood is part of spiritual practice. This afternoon, 1 o'clock talk is about Dhamma at work. The past is in our minds, the future is in our hands. Please remember that. The question of whether you incur the wrath or the pleasure of a God, or whether you want to bribe him or don't bribe him, this does not enter the mind of a Buddhist at all, because the Buddha was completely not interested in this. Neither do you hope of reward nor fear of punishment meted out by someone. We do good because it is good. We avoid unwholesome things because it is unwholesome. Full stop. Not because someone is dangling a carrot and said, you do this, you go to heaven. You don't do this, you burn in hell. That is for kindergarten children. You don't do your homework, mommy going to cane you. We are all adults. The Buddha said, use your intellect. A Buddhist is aware of future consequences, but he refrains from evil or unwholesome deeds because it retards his path. He does good because it aids his progress to awakening. For those who are not materially successful, you can be better. Do not give up. Even if you have tried and you're still not materially successful, it does not mean you are unsuccessful. You may just be not materially successful. You can be successful in so many other ways. You can be rich in many, many ways. You don't have to be a multi-billionaire.
It's the last thing I ever wanted to do.
I know that's not what you want to do, but that's just the way that it is. Don't you care what people think? Doesn't it bother you that people are making you out to be a joke and that I'm going to be included in that? Do you think that's right? Do you?
You ain't gonna believe this. But you used to fit right here. I'd hold you up and say to your mother, this kid's gonna be the best kid in the world. This kid's gonna be somebody better than anybody ever knew. And you grew up good and wonderful. It was great just watching you every day. It was like a privilege. Then the time come for you to be your own man and take on the world, and you did. But somewhere along the line, you changed. You stopped being you. You let people stick a finger in your face and tell you you're no good. And when things got hard, you started looking for something to blame, like a big shadow. Let me tell you something you already know. The world ain't all sunshine and rainbows. It's a very mean and nasty place, and I don't care how tough you are, it will beat you to your knees and keep you there permanently if you let it. You, me, or nobody is gonna hit as hard as life. But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done. Now, if you know what you're worth, now go out and get what you're worth. But you gotta be willing to take the hits and not pointing fingers saying you ain't where you want to be because of him or her or anybody. Cowards do that, and that ain't you. You're better than that.
Wilson must invite him to Dhamma sharing, you know. Very good Dhamma speaker. I can't do that. Now all of us can contribute. Every time I come here, I see the ladies early in the morning preparing the food outside. I see the boys having to arrange the chair, the cushions and all that. Every one of them is contributing. Every one of them is making a contribution to the Sasana. And there is one thing I want to very, very much clarify here. just now we offer and we talk about the Sangha. When we say we take refuge, we are talking about the Arya Sangha. That's why you qualified it just now by saying, who are the Arya Sangha? Okay, we described the qualities of the Arya Sangha. Okay, when we chanted after Itipiso, after Swakato Bhagavata Dhammo, then we say the Ujupatipano, Supatipano, etc., Naya Patipano. Those are the qualities of the Arya Sangha, the noble Sangha, which is what you and I take refuge in. But other than that context, the word Sangha merely means community. It does not refer to monks or nuns. The word Sangha can be used for a flock of birds. That's a Sangha. It can be used for a herd of cattle. That's also a Sangha. Or a pond with a lot of koi. That's also a Sangha. Or a group of human beings. That's also a Sangha. And that is why the Buddha said the fourfold Sangha. The bhikkhus, bhikkhunis, the male lay disciples, and the female lay disciples. This is the Sangha that contributes to the Buddha Sasana, that keeps it alive. So when you offer to the Sangha, for example, you offer requisites, you offer food, etc., you are not just offering to that one person. You're offering actually to the entire Sangha. Because when you offer to that one person, he's the symbol, the icon. That symbol living the life that the Buddha gave as an example. And they in turn teach, they in turn lead by example. They in turn remember the Dhamma and keep it for prosperity. So when you are supporting, whether you're supporting by merely just using your skills to wash plates at the end of this, you are actually supporting the entire Sangha and Sasana. You are making a major contribution. Okay? So this is what I mean. It's all the entire community, ordained lay men, women. So any one of us here can contribute. And while the Buddha praised Ananda Pindika because he was so generous, he was wealthy and he was very generous. He donated, Jetavana Monastery. He also praised Chitta, another lay person, and another one called Hattaka, because they were both skillful and diligent in giving other things besides financial contribution. These other two were very skillful in giving the Dhamma. So wealthy supporters, please remember, were the ones who start off the physical infrastructure of the newborn Sangha. King Bimbisara was very wealthy. He's the ruler of Rajgil. Rajgil had iron. They were very, very rich because of that. And King Bimbisara was the first royal patron of the newborn Sangha. And the very first monastery, Bamboo Grove, which you can still see on pilgrimage today, was donated by him. Okay? And remember Visakha, a female lay person? She was a daughter of a millionaire. And she was similarly a very good supporter. In Savatthi, you got two. You got Jetavana on one side, and on the other side is the other monastery, which is donated by Visakha. Okay? So wealth by itself is not intrinsically evil. Rich people, in fact, are in a privileged position because they can practice generosity to both the monastic and the lay. Compassionate giving to the poor and the sick is a virtue in its own right. Chitta was a rich merchant and landowner, but he was also very learned in the Dhamma, and he was able to explain the Dhamma not only to lay people, but even to the Sangha. Within the Theravada canon, you will see his name appearing here and there, and he was actually teaching the Sangha with regards to various aspects of the Dhamma. Hantaka, on the other hand, was very famous not because of money, but because he had the ability to bring people to the Buddha's teachings. In other words, he's a good PR man. Okay? He's a fantastic PRO man. And at one time, he brought 500 lay people to see the Buddha. And the Buddha even asked him, how do you manage to interest so many people in the Dhamma? And Antaka answered, Lord, I do it using the 4 bases of sympathy which you yourself taught me. When I know that someone can be attracted by generosity, I am generous. When I know that they can be attracted by kind words, I speak to them with kindness. When I know that they can be attracted by doing them a good turn, I do them a good turn. And when I know that they can be attracted by treating them equally, I treat them with equality. These things do not require money. They just require your effort. Now, for lay people, whether you are rich, whether you are poor, whether you are talented or you are not talented, the ideal lay follower, the householder, is not just a devout supporter of the monastic order, but he should be a person who aims to attain at least the first of the 4 stages of realization, the fruit of stream entry or sotapan. The fruit of stream entry or sotapan can be attained by a lay person, because the fruit of stream entry does not require meditation attaining jhana. The sotapan only has 3 fetters which he broke. First, the fetter of doubt. That means he has read enough, he has heard enough, he has understood enough to know that this is the way. Second, he has understood enough to know that rites and rituals are merely rites and rituals, full stop. They are all psychological support for people because we need it, but it is just psychological support. And third, the Sotapan has understood in theory that the self is not the self. He has understood that within the 5 faculties of the rupa, the body, and you've got feeling, perception, volition, consciousness, the Sotapan has understood that this body is not the self. But he's still attached to the other 4. That's why it takes time for him to progress up and be able to fully realize that even feelings, perceptions, volition, consciousness is non-self. So these 3 is attainable by a householder. And you in Singapore have more opportunities than ever in history. The lay people in the Buddha's era might see the Buddha once in 6 months, hear him once in 6 months, full stop. You've got 6,000 discourses at the click of your mouse. You've got more teachers now than ever in history. If you cannot be a Sotapan here in Singapore, given the resources, you will not be a Sotapan anywhere in the world. Maybe except Malaysia, because we see dukkha clearer there. Brother Vincent always say, how come the Malaysian speakers can understand dukkha so well? I said, because we live where there is dukkha. So, conduct, though essential, is by itself insufficient. It must be coupled with knowledge and wisdom. The base of this pyramid in Buddhism is morality. The apex is wisdom. So for the lay people like you and me, first, faith. Second, almsgiving, dana, time, effort, skill, flower arrangement, plate washing, food. Virtues, for us it's only 5. 4 not harming people. Only 1 applies to ourselves. Okay? Then of course training the mind. Not meditation, but bhavana. I've already explained that. And then attainment of wisdom. Trying to understand the 4 noble truths. Trying to understand the 3 universal characteristics. And this is the scale of monetary happiness. At the bottom, yes, all that is very, very good to give us luxury and comfort. But the ones at the very top, you need the Buddha's teaching. Money can't buy that. I already mentioned this, extremely important. Okay? If you are healthy, you are already wealthy. I didn't say it. This is what the Buddha said in the Dhammapada. Health is the greatest gift. Contentment, the greatest wealth. Faithfulness, the best relationship. If you can go to sleep at night content with what you have, you are the wealthiest man on earth.
Hi guys, Prince EA here at Contentment with a special offer for you today. Ever wonder why you're never happy? Even when you get the things you want, the feeling just never lasts. Well, I've got exactly what you've been looking for. Contentment. Advertisers and marketers have spent billions of dollars tricking us into wanting more and more. They want you to buy to satisfy their evil, selfish greed. They say, this makeup will make you look pretty and you'll be happy. Or this car will make you a hit with your friends and, you guessed it, you'll be happy. But it's like you're chasing this butterfly that's constantly out of reach. Because you see, the truth is, you can never have enough of what you don't really want. I'm here today to offer you a little contentment, because contentment is what you've been looking for all along. Here's why. Take the new iPhone. Timmy here waited in line for 3 days trying to get his hands on this phone. He hated his old phone, and when he got the new one, he was so happy. Now, the million-dollar question is, did the phone make him happy, or was it the release from the craving of the phone that made him happy?
The phone? Duh.
No, Timmy. There's nothing in this phone that made you happy. It was the release from the craving of the phone. See, when you craved this phone, you had a lot of tension and anxiety and stress building up. And when you got the phone, you were released from those stresses. You wrongly attributed the peace and joy that you got from the release to the phone.
Wow. I never looked at it like that.
Many people haven't, Timmy. So they continue running to the next stupid thing, thinking that it will bring them happiness. But what they were really looking for is contentment.
Before contentment.
We longed for that nice house.
With the picket fence.
It was so stressful, we thought about it all the time.
All the time. But now, after contentment.
We learned to love our little apartment.
We've never been happier before.
Before contentment, I was miserable. I had to get the latest fashion, the latest everything. But once I noticed that I had enough already, I have never been happier.
Thanks, contentment.
And you lovely people at home can have your contentment too. For 0 easy payments of just $0, just look inside yourself and realize that these material things have never made you happy for very long. But wait, there's more. Call in the next 10 minutes and we'll throw in some gratitude for free. Contentment. It's what you've always been looking for.
So our psychological wealth is not just money, but all these things in this pie chart. The engaging activities in Buddhist fellowship, for example, gives you meaning. Chakra, I was so sad to hear at the Chakra conference, 75% of people above the age of 65 in Singapore have no meaning in life. Well, that's very, very sad. Remember Dr. Ng Wai Chong shared that statistic. That's a huge number of people, 75% of people above the age of 65. We should invite all those people to come to Buddhist fellowship. We'll provide free food for them on Sunday. But give them, because you need this to give you that meaning in life. If you leave the poor fella at home in an HDB staring at Majula Singapura when it starts and then Majula Singapura when it ends, of course he's going to be very, very sad and lonely. There's nothing for him to look forward to. Bring him to Buddhist fellowship. There is spirituality and meaning. There is positive relationship. You build up the positive attitudes in him. Tell him to downgrade from his 4-room to 1 room, then he got a lot of extra money, and engaging activities, etc., etc. Of course, please do not be stupidly happy. This is taken from the internet. When one of the authors had a dialogue with His Holiness the Dalai Lama in front of an audience of thousands, he showed the esteemed monk the quote from this person that says to be happy one must be stupid. Obviously not Buddhist. The Dalai Lama laughed aloud and said that some happiness is definitely stupid happiness, like when you gamble, etc., etc. It is silly to be happy when a bear is chasing you, or some people are indeed happy in a shallow, unthinking way. Thus, although his Holiness counsels happiness. He does not counsel blind, thoughtless pleasure. Although he recognizes that negative emotions are very often harmful, he does not recommend constant exuberance for no reason whatsoever. Although the first enemy is stress and depression, we must also be wary of stupid happiness. So do not have stupid happiness. That is very temporal. It disappears. Then you're going to be left stupidly stupid. I want to end here. Thank you. The last quote again from the Dhammapada. O house builder, the Buddha said on the night of his enlightenment. You are seen. Why house builder? Because as long as you have this, you will continue becoming another person, You will not build this house again. For your rafters are broken, your ridgepole shattered. My mind has reached the unconditioned. I have attained the destruction of craving. Remember that contentment video I showed you? Buy contentment instead. 0 cost. Okay? Now everything I've shared with you is in this book. And you can buy this book at 0 cost. So please come and help yourself. Thank you.
Brothers and sisters, let us say sadhu 3 times to give thanks to Dr. Wong. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So thank you very much, Dr. Wong, for giving us a very inspiring talk. Oh yeah, that's true. I forgot the question and answer part. We have a bit of time, so probably about 20 minutes for question and answer. Anybody would like to ask questions? Oh, we have one.
Thank you, Dr. Wong, for your sharing. Just now, you mentioned about attainment of Sotapanna, and if I heard correctly, you mentioned that jhanas are not required. Did you say?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, this has been something that I've been asking around, and the feedback that I do get is that jhanas are required. So I'm a little bit confused.
No.
Yeah.
You can check the suttas for yourself. Of course, in my old age now, I can no longer remember exactly which sutta, but you can easily check. Just Google it. The Buddha said that the Sotapanna does not have, you have the 3 aspects. Okay? You have the Sila, Samadhi, Panya. Okay? The Arahant has got the perfect Sila, Samadhi, and Panya. All 3. Okay? So, you want to be an Arahant, you must attain states of jhana. Okay? If not, you cannot. You need to have the perfect Samadhi to attain. Then if you go one step down, you have the Anagami. The Anagami already has attained his Sila that has got rid of greed and hatred. But even the Anagami still have attachment to the formless realms. That's why the Anagami, when he passes on, he does not become like you and me in our world anymore, because this is the realm of desire. He becomes in another realm, so-called the pure abodes. Okay? The Sakandagami, okay, still has to come by one more time, because the Sakandagami has reduced his greed, his hatred, his anger very, very significantly. Okay? The Sakandagami has got reasonable knowledge, but still not perfect knowledge. And the Sakandagami has got reasonable meditative absorptions, but not perfect samadhi. Now you come to the Sotapan. The Sotapan has only eradicated 3 fetters, which I described earlier. There are altogether 10 fetters, 10 things that we have to progressively eradicate. The Sotapan has only eradicated, out of these 10, 3 fetters. The first fetter is no more doubts. And that is why when you read the canon, you will see that there are many people listening to the Buddha, then actually explain, and then it clicks and they understand. And then the Buddha said, so and so knows. Okay? The second, the Sotapan, unlike many of us, have already broken away from what we call a dependence on rites and rituals. Do you realize that we are all very, very dependent on rites and rituals? Because all of us want a big brother. How nice to have a big brother. And all of us want a big brother. So we are all very dependent on rites and rituals. Rightly or wrongly, it provides fantastic psychological support. And that's why we do ceremonies. Strictly speaking, do you know that within the Buddha Dharma, within what the Buddha taught, as far as lay people are concerned, like you and me, the total number of ceremonies and rituals is 0. 0. It is only in the Vinaya for the Sangha that there are prescribed rituals, for example, for ordination, for Bhakti-Mokha recitation of the Vinaya rules, for their confession when they have broken Vinaya rules, okay, for Katina robes. But for lay people, the total number of rituals is 0. All the rituals that we do, including puja, including offerings, are purely mechanisms to educate us. And that is why it is so important that you must realize that all these have educational value. If you put a fruit there thinking that the Buddha is going to eat your fruit, you are mistaken. If you put whatever you put and think that now the Buddha is going to be very happy with me, I'm going to be okay, then you are mistaken. But at a very fundamental level, people have this need. People need this. Are you aware that for the first 500 years of the Sasana, when the Buddha said that the Dhamma is pristine, there was no Buddha image. There wasn't even a Buddha image. Are you aware that even in Malaysia today we have one monastery that has the sum total of Buddha images of 0? Venerable Dhamma Buddha's monastery. No Buddha image at all, because Venerable Dhamma Buddha is insistent that you must understand this. That's why his monastery has 0 Buddha image. So, for the Sotapan, the second realization is that yes, rites and rituals are important educational tools, but they are not the way. And the third is again a theoretical understanding of anatta. Anatta has 3 major aspects. The first major aspect is the easiest. We can teach you to understand physics and biology, and you will realize this is non-self. Okay? That's why you can't control your body. That's why it will fall sick. That's why it will age. That's why it will undergo degeneration, which you cannot control. It is not something that belongs to you that you can control. So the Sotapan at his level has understood and eradicated 3 things. Remember, first, doubt. Do you have doubt? Or do you still have a niggling doubt somewhere inside? Maybe not true. For that, it is not blind faith. Blind faith is saying, I believe you have money in your pocket. For lay people, that is very likely true. Almost every lay person will have money in his pocket. You can't even go to take a bus if you don't have money. Oh, okay, at least the card now, okay? Or equivalent of money. But knowledge, is when you know I've got money in my pocket. I've got a credit card in my pocket. That's knowledge. Once you have knowledge, you do not need balance fleet anymore because you know. And that is why the Buddha is insistent that in his teachings, you must know it for yourself. If the Buddha says all things are impermanent because they are conditioned things, you have to verify it for yourself whether they are impermanent. If the Buddha says all things are unsatisfactory because they are conditioned things, they will arise and fall, you have to verify it for yourself whether that is true. And the Buddha actually said that these two things, I have absolutely no quarrels with any wise man because any wise man can also see that. Even a physicist can tell you that. Okay? It's the third aspect, anatta, which he says is very difficult to understand. And that's why anatta is called the door to awakening. When you can understand anatta, you are at the door of awakening. And there are three aspects of anatta. I, the first thing, this is me. This is what most people carry. That this body, this physique, this page, this head, this whatever is me. That is what almost everyone. But if you can understand that this is not me, it doesn't mean you don't exist. Of course you exist. Pain. But you are always changing. At every moment your physical body is changing. There is no permanent you. Take a look at your IC photo or passport photo 10 years ago. It's a completely different person. We both had hair then. Okay? The second aspect, our feelings. We always say, what is going to become of me? That's why when you meditate, you will always see this. The thought will keep on arising. What next? What next? Because becoming is one of the asavas. The mind always will constantly think, what is going to happen next? What's going to happen next? What am I going to do next? What am I going to become next? What do I do when I get out? When is this meditation going to end? When is that bell going to tong? We always have this thought because we are always saying what next. Because the moment you sit in meditation and you look at your breath and you do nothing else, the self disappears. And the self cannot tolerate that. It must create a sense of continuity. And the third aspect, this is mine. Mine. This is mine. Very difficult to eradicate. Now, let me give you an example of what do you mean by this is mine. Most Singaporeans live in HDB flats or condos. And people will always ask, oh, is this freehold, is it leasehold and all that? And I always give the example, you are living in the air. How can you own air? Do you realize that when we say you own that apartment or you own that piece of landed property, it is merely because everybody here, including the government and the laws, state that when you have signed those papers, you lodge it with the land office that belongs to you? It is only by consensual agreement of everybody that that land belongs to you. You have a change of government tomorrow, turns communist. That's it. No more. And everything is nationalized. The land doesn't belong to you anymore. It's over. It's done with. So when we say it belongs to me, it is only because everybody agrees that it belongs to you. It is only a concept. So as you walk this path, you begin to realize that what we consider as mine is also not in reality yours. It is only because everyone agrees that it is yours. So, for the Sotapan, again coming back, three things. You must listen. That's why we are all called Savakas. We learn the Dhamma by either listening or reading, okay, or investigating. You must have that theoretical knowledge to help you. Then that theoretical knowledge, you must investigate. That's why it's ehipasiko. Okay, you must see whether what the Buddha teaches is true. And if it is true, then you internalize it. You have no more doubt. you know this is true. You have eradicated the first fetter. The second fetter is natural. As you progress, you will see that there is less reliance on rites and rituals anymore. We do it as a communal activity because it unites us, but it is a mere psychological support. The Buddha will not be offended whether you chant Namo Tassa or not. We do it for our psychological support. And the third one, anatta. Meditation helps. You need to have the theory, you need to look inside to see whether it is true. But you need not have to develop the states of jhana. There is actually a sutta whereby the Buddha described these Sotapan, Sakanagami, Anagami, and Arahant, whether this has perfect samadhi, perfect sila. All right? As I said, nowadays I can no longer remember. But there is canonical reference to it. So what I want to say is, as I put earlier, the aim of a lay person like you and me is not just doing good. Yes, doing good is important, but doing good is not the end. When you do a lot of good, wholesome things, it creates what we call good karma. Good karma leads to good conditions for you. Now, you study hard, you get a good job. You get a good job, you work hard, you got the relative comforts that we just described. But it is not the end. Awakening or enlightenment is the end of karma. Are you aware of that? As long as you have karma within dependent origination, it will drive you to become. That's why you have bhava, independent origination. Karma bhava. From your karma, you will become something, whatever. And it goes on endlessly. Awakening is the ending of karma. That's why the Arahant is no longer reborn. Because his karma, or the effects of his karma, has ended. All right? That's why when you read in the scriptures, you will see so many lay people listen to the Buddha or listen to one of the students of the Buddha and they became a Sotapan. Two clear examples. One, Sariputta, an ascetic. Okay? He was just walking and he saw one of the original 5 Asaji in arms round. And he saw this man is so calm, so serene. And he decided when he finished his arms round, I will ask him a question. And they asked him a question, and he just gave a very simple answer, which literally paraphrase that whatever there is a cause, there is also the end of the cause, and the Buddha has taught how to end the cause and how to end the effect. With just listening to that, Sariputta became a Sotapan. Another example, Anakhondana, one of the first 5, the first to become a Sotapan. He listened to the Buddha talk about the middle path. He listened to Buddha talk about the 4 Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path. At the end, what did the Buddha say? Kondana understands. He was just listening. And he understood. And he became a Sotapan. In another sutta, there is a description of how when you listen intensely to the Dhamma, your faculties are concentrated, your mind is stilled, and you are able to perceive that teachings. But it's not jhana, because you can still hear. In jhana, you no longer can. Another example. Remember Yasa? The first lay person the Buddha spoke to. We only quoting canonical examples. We don't want non-canonical. Yasa is the first lay person the Buddha spoke to. In fact, Yasa's story of how he is the son of a very rich man and how there was big parties at night and then how all the women were drunk and lying there and all that, and then he was so disgusted, he walked out. Are you aware that that was cut and paste into the legend of the Buddha? In the canon, there's no description of the Buddha doing that on the day he renounced to become a monk. No such description. That is a cut and paste from the story of Yasa. When you see our myths and our legends, you see lots of cut and paste. Although they didn't have Mac then, but they had a lot of cut and paste. So just the story of how he walked out to meet the Buddha was literally cut and paste and put into the legends of the Buddha. Okay? So when he met the Buddha and the Buddha spoke to him, the Buddha taught him about generosity. The Buddha taught him about effects of good deeds, bad deeds. He taught him about the other realms. He then finally only taught him a little bit of the Four Noble Truths. And just by listening to the Buddha, Yassa, a layperson, became a Sotapan. He had no more doubt. He knew what the Buddha was talking about. There wasn't the rituals that we have today. And he understood. So that is why I said, for you living in Singapore, you have got the best teachers coming this way. You have got all the resources available to you. You have got perfect conditions of neither too much good life nor too much suffering. It is only whether you want to devote your time. If you want meditation centers, there are many meditation centers in Malaysia which are grossly underutilized, and they are more than happy to welcome you. Only just a few days ago, a brother in Malacca texted me and said, we've got 2 meditation centers, we spend millions of dollars, and it is barely used. He wrote to me and he said, Dr. Wong, you got anybody who wants to use, please come use it. So the conditions are there. It's whether you want to use it, whether you want to attain it. Now, if I were to answer that brother's question and say, what would be the one aim for people like you here at this stage, and you say, I have difficulty meditating, then I would say, you just do the meditation like I teach you, but learn the theory. Attend the talks. Try and develop insight, because first and foremost, you are a savaka. We learn from the teachers teaching us the Dhamma. And you don't need to read 6,000 over suttas in the canon. Probably about 20 suttas in the canon will cover almost everything already. And by the way, brother, that scriptural reference to the perfect Sila Samadhi Panya is somewhere inside this book. Okay, so if you want to look at the scripture reference, it's in there. Okay? Thank you.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So apparently Dr. Wong has consumed all the question and answer time. So we will now close the session. And as usual, we'll have a little bit of an announcement before we close the session.